New week, Monday edition of the Art Lewis Show on this sixth day of April. Nice to have you with us. Coming up after the 10 o'clock news and right through about 11:30, we'll have open phones for you. But for this hour, we're going to generate a little gratitude, and we do that with the guy who knows more about it than most people. Has a show called Generating Gratitude, which you hear on WSGW on the weekends and the stream. And we say good morning to Joe Volk.
Good morning, Art. Interesting. I was listening into the newscast there at Donate Life.
Oh, yeah.
Donate Life. Last weekend, I had Dwayne Parker on. Dwayne Parker received a heart transplant. He's like my third heart transplant recipient I've had on the show.
Wow.
And one of the reasons I love to talk to heart transplant folks is the gratitude that those folks have, because it's a real tough situation. They've been on the verge of losing it all.
Yep.
And when you've been on the verge of losing it all, it's amazing how when you come back, all the trivial stuff
goes away
that gets in the way.
Yeah.
is gone. And so I really love talking to those people. And so that news story just kind of reminded me of gratitude and wow, because hospitals are horrible mental places. Because
wait. Where are you going today?
Well, exactly. Well, because you lay in bed, you lay in a hospital bed, and you think.
Yeah, all the worst.
It's like isolation. It's like solitary confinement, in that mind works on you. And so, with these heart transplant recipients, asking them, how did you deal with that? Just laying in bed, waiting, because Dwayne his was a 4-year process.
On the wait list?
On the wait list.
And then finding the match. And
finding
all that.
the match. And the other aspect of heart transplants, it's truly one of those good news, bad news. Somebody's got to lose in order for someone else to win. And that, for all three of the heart transplant folks that I talked to, that weighs on their minds, because somebody had to suffer the ultimate misfortune for them to live.
Yeah.
Interesting conversation. They're all on Spotify and on the website. Go on back.
There is a push. We had a story on about, and you heard that, about signing up for organ transplants.
Yes.
On your driver's license.
Yes.
And I think there are people that are hesitant to do that because they don't want to think about what that means.
Right.
Yet, when the time comes, you're not going to worry about it.
Yeah, not your call.
Not your call once that happens,
Once I've assumed room temperature, it's what you do with me is out of my control.
Yeah, but I did have to consult my children before saying okay. I mean, it's really is a family decision, because there are families that don't want anything to do with it.
Right, and when even with the transplants, now Dwayne has not yet been in contact with the donor family.
Do you know who it is?
He does not.
Okay.
But the other two, it was split. One of them, one donor family wanted to meet the recipient and put the stethoscope on there and listen to
it has to be a two-way street.
Listen to the beating heart.
Yeah, right.
The other family wanted nothing to do with the heart recipient. So it's one of those mixed bags, good news, bad
sides.
news. Yeah.
It takes both sides.
And I don't know how I'd feel about that anyway.
It's interesting you say that, because we can talk about all of these hypothetical situations for us, realistic for somebody else. But you sit in the hypothetical world, you have no idea how you're going to react.
Yep. In the words of the vaunted philosopher Mike Tyson, everybody has a plan till they get punched in the mouth.
There's another correlation to that too. You know, in this day and age, CPLs are a big thing, concealed pistol licenses, and everybody has this image of how they would react
Right.
if they're carrying.
Right.
Till the time the test is put in front of them
Right.
in real life, and then you have to ask yourself, what would I do?
Yeah.
No matter
Yeah.
how you train for it. I mean, you know, unless you're, a police officer who has had it drilled into them over and over again and how you react and all of that. I mean, the average citizen takes a one-day class for CPL,
Yep.
and they strap it on, and you consider the consequences, you know?
Yeah, everybody reacts differently under pressure. You can use CPL, you can use CPR.
Well, yeah.
Everybody reacts differently. The stuff hit the fan. Now what do I do?
Yeah. We had an incident a couple of months ago. I was out with a couple of buddies of mine for dinner. One of them is a state police officer, and in the booth next to us in the restaurant, the customer choked
Yep.
and was out. I mean, he was going to be out quick.
Yep.
And my state police buddy, without thinking, was on his feet and did the Heimlich 3 or 4 times. He was more worried that he was going to bruise the guy than he was that he wasn't going to save him.
Yeah.
And then I whacked him on the back a few times and took him out to the ambulance. And I knew the guy. But it's just a lesson in how, if you're prepared and trained,
Right.
you don't think, you act.
You act.
Yeah. It's like, well, I was a firefighter for 7 years, many, many, many years ago in New Jersey. But you get to the scene of a fire, you don't run away, you're running in.
Yes, it's your first inclination.
Yeah, that's right. Go put the fire out.
Yeah, don't think.
No, and it is a training process.
Yep.
Over and over and over again.
And it's
It's interesting though, because for many people, gratitude is the same thing.
well, yeah. I was going to say that because you can in this world that we live in, our surroundings aren't conducive to gratitude. We're all into this victim. I'm the victim. It's all that self-pity. It's always
somebody else's fault.
Somebody else's fault. Nobody respects me. You owe me.
Yeah.
And it's interesting with
politics has made it worse.
Oh yeah, I don't even pay attention. Those guys are just barking dogs. I don't pay attention to any of it. And anybody that does really needs to.
Well, it's all right to understand politics so you can come to a reasonable decision when you have to vote. But I don't understand people who
we
can't see anything beyond their political glasses.
Right. Well, we've become so absolute.
Yeah.
We've become immature. That's what children do. Children, you're either right or you're wrong.
Yeah.
And there's no...
If you don't agree with me, you're wrong, and
Right.
you're a bad person.
You're a doo-doo head, blah, 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 blah. But that's basically what it's become. We've lost that reasonable people can't come to an agreement. 80%, I think that 80% are in the middle. There's 10% wackos on both sides, and the wackos
make all the noise.
And they've hijacked the conversation.
Yeah,
because when you talk to people reasonably, and that's another key, is the wackos don't want people to talk to each other, and it's amazing how much, whether it's addiction recovery, whether it's trauma, we need other people. We need to talk to people. We say this, with addiction, I get drunk, we stay sober. Yeah, and that's very important because we need each other.
Which is why those meetings are so important.
Meetings are important. Just even with the elderly, I find that when the elderly get older and they can't they can't get around anymore. It's that isolation.
Yeah.
And they go crazy in their own heads.
It's interesting you say that, because I am blessed at 83 to be able to live alone, to get around, to do everything I've always done. And I tell people my brain tells me I'm 50.
Right.
My body tells me my brain's a liar. We're going to take a break.
Every time I jump on the treadmill, man.
There you are. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back talking to Joe Volk, and we've got more coming up with Joe. Right now, you have vendors who drive on these wonderful roads that we have. I think you know the meaning of the word pothole. And if you hit enough of them, you are going to affect the alignment of your car. Our friends at Quick Lane Freeland are offering you a complimentary alignment check to let you know if your car still is in good alignment. And you wonder why it's so important. Well, I've asked John from Quick Lane Freeland to explain that to us.
If your vehicle's wheels are aligned correctly, it will not pull to the left or to the right when driving. It also prevents improper tread wear, so your tires last longer. A wheel alignment should be checked often because normal steering wear and tear can cause your alignment to go out, in addition to potholes and railroad crossings. A correct alignment also reduces rolling resistance on your tires for better fuel mileage.
Thanks, John. Stop into Quick Lane Freeland for your complimentary alignment check. And by the way, if you need tires, they sell all their tires at just $5 over cost. While you're there, since it's on the McDonald Ford property, it's part of the McDonald Ford family. Check out the new lineup of Ford vehicles or check their pre-owned vehicle lot. Something for every budget waiting for you. McDonald Ford and Quick Lane Freeland, two names standing ready to help you with your automotive needs in 2026.
Here's a tale of...
All right, we're back with you on the Art Lewis Show here on WSGW. Special guest in studio, Joe Volk, who you hear on the weekends with Generating Gratitude and on the stream, too. I have to tell you a story about Joe Volk.
Uh-oh.
I've never heard. I don't think he's ever heard this story. Joe, for many, many years back, how many decades ago, was on a competing radio station in this market. And they were a pretty wild bunch. They did a lot of crazy things.
A lot.
And I was the kind of guy, I never looked at my competition as my enemy or anything. They're people. I mean, we all get up, we do the same thing, we go to work. So I've always had good relations with even the competition in the market. But I really didn't know Joe. and I knew that he was far out for some of the stuff they did on the radio. But after many decades, all of a sudden I meet Joe again and get to hear Joe and talk to Joe. And I have to tell you how much respect I have gained for Joe Volk.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm serious, Joe. He has come through life's struggles as a much, much better person. Now, it's hard for me to measure that because I didn't know him when he was going through his struggles. But I just have to imagine that you feel better about yourself today than you did back then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm wearing pants.
Yeah. Didn't you wear them back then? But Joe's
It's kind of questionable.
Yeah. Joe's story is one of fortitude, a willingness to change and become a better person.
Well, that willingness sometimes spouse in courts.
Well, but whatever causes it makes it happen. So I know he's not afraid to talk about it. He talks about it on his show all the time. You reached a low point in your life, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah,
it was
many times.
due to alcohol primarily?
Alcohol, yeah, and alcohol tells your brain that you're indestructible. And alcohol tells you
I've been a non-drinker all my life, and my brain told me I'm indestructible. Now, my brain, I told you earlier, was a liar, and it still is.
well, what what alcohol does is it makes you very selfish. Like there's nobody else in the world. When somebody becomes sober, the primary tenet of being sober is, and I repeat this numerous times, I cannot control people, places, or events. Because when I was drinking, or when I practiced dry drunk or alcoholic behavior, that's, just practicing alcoholic behavior without drinking it, called it dry drunk. I believe that we have this, and older people kind of realize this with age. The older you get, the more you realize that you don't have control over people, places, things, or events.
You are correct. Absolutely true.
When the only thing I can control in my life is my effort to react to them. Because I can't control other people. Get married, you'll figure that out. Have children, you'll figure that out.
Yeah.
I can't control events. Get a job, get a sales job. I can't control customers or clients. I can't control the president decides to bomb Iran. I can't control that. If my next door neighbor decides to put up a 64-foot fence, I can't control that.
As long as he did it legally.
Right. The only thing I can control is my reaction. Life is an inside between the ears job. I wish I could control. I did a horrible job of quote unquote running the world. So the second that pressure was taken off me by me realizing that I wasn't in charge of the world, then you can start getting better.
I know you say that as a recovering alcoholic, you always have to continue to recover. You continue doing meetings and everything. But at what point, when you started the process of drying out and recovering,
Mm-hmm.
did you tell yourself, maybe I'm there? That I'm
Never.
Still
don't.
I expected that answer.
Still don't. Because if you know anything about alcohol, as we say,
And I know nothing.
is cunning, baffling, and powerful. I've seen folks go out after 40 years. I've seen folks go out after 35 years. You never know.
And fall off, what we used to say, fall off the wagon? Is that what
Well, yeah. For example, I have a friend who was in the program for a long time, and his son dies of a fentanyl overdose. Okay, you can go one of two ways. He went the good way, but that's how patient it is.
Yeah.
I've on the show. It's amazing on the show. A couple of weeks ago, I had one of my friends on, and she got clean, got sober, got married, had a child, pregnant with another child. Husband decides to kill himself in the living room with a gun, the worst, ugliest, grossest way you can do it. And she wants to talk to me about gratitude. That's hardcore.
We'll come back to it. Hold the thought. I got to take a break.
Take a break.
Talking to Joe Volk. More ahead.
You might not have heard about the Michigan.
Courtesy Stormmaster Exteriors. And from the Stormmaster Exteriors studios, this is WSGW.
Hi, we're to when you were suffering with alcohol addiction and all of that, and you finally reached the bottom, as usually that's what happens.
Yep.
Right? And where did you turn for help? What did you do to set yourself on the path of recovery?
Well, most addicts and alcoholics know that they're addicts and alcoholics. We just can't do anything about it.
Some don't admit it, though.
Some don't admit it, but we know.
Yeah.
We know.
Internally.
We know we're not normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't normal. Going home and sitting in a basement and drinking a pint of vodka a night is not normal.
Yeah.
That's not normal behavior. Well, we tried. I tried to get a little help with a therapist, but that didn't work. And it's not because therapy doesn't work. It's you know, if you lie to the therapist, if you lie and don't want to get better, then nobody can help you.
That's always been my view. I've not had to do it, but I've always had the view that if I went to a psychologist or a therapist for help, I'd have to have an open mind and be willing to accept it. If I go in doubting
Right.
that therapy is going to do me any good and I'm not accepting, probably isn't going to work.
Well, it's like any relationship. The more trust you build, the more you share.
Yeah. The more you accept, too.
Right. Because I'll accept advice from some people and probably not to be so
Not accepting of
accommodating to others.
others. Yeah, right.
Who can do certain weird and unnatural things as far as I care. But you know, it's all when you get help, you have to be so beaten. You have to be at a place where you never want to go back. Never want to do this again. That's why sports, for example, it's coaches when their team lose championship games have their team out there watching the other team celebrate. Remember how you feel. Never want to go back there again.
Yeah.
And so that motivates you to work hard. That motivates you to I never want to sit there and watch my rival celebrate their championship victory on my field. Okay, so what are you going to do about it?
Yeah. That's interesting because that happens in life.
Right.
Things have happened in my life over my 83 years.
Right.
And I look back and say, oh, I never want to go do that again. Why did I do that? I was so stupid.
Right.
You know, and you recognize your own vulnerabilities and your own stupidity in many ways. And I found that to be self-correcting, that it's self-healing, because I go back and look at it and say, I've got to change that behavior. That was stupid.
Well, there's only one thing in life that changes behavior. My opinion, anyway. And again, I'm not a psychologist. I don't have a degree. I have a broadcasting degree. The only one thing that changes behavior in life, whether it's addiction, whether it's business, politics, personal relationships, is desperation.
Or failure. Yeah.
Yeah, and that desperation out of failure.
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody says, well, life is good. I think I'll go into rehab.
Yeah.
No business says, well, we're making money, but now I got to change everything. It's desperation.
But when that happens, and when you are facing desperation, you then have a choice.
Yep.
The choice is, do you become depressed and look for a non-depressant, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
or do you accept the fact that you are facing failure in something and figure a way to correct it?
Well, with addiction,
So you do have a choice.
that you don't have a
You
choice.
don't have the choice because you're addicted. That's
Well,
the-
no, that and it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't
Well,
work anymore. We've tried.
But yet you keep doing it.
the house is on fire.
Right. Yeah, but you keep doing it.
Yeah, and you just can't go on anymore.
Yeah.
You just can't. This can't happen anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. So when you say that, then you have to follow that up with action. I don't want to do this anymore. So in my case, I was willing to do anything. Like those guys could have told me to jump over a wall and wrestle alligators, and I would have jumped over a wall and wrestled alligators. It's, do you take that desperation? Can you take that desperation to change, and can you turn it into action and sustainable action that'll last?
Yeah.
Because sometimes the trick with recovery is some folks will use that desperation and change till they start feeling better, and then they'll go back to the same way.
Yeah. That's not change, though.
Right. It's like that in business, too. Well, we started to make a little money. Now we're going to go back to the same. And you get beaten up again, or a relationship. Yeah. Well, I changed for 2 months, and then he started staying out late again, and blah, blah, blah. It's that using that desperation for sustainable change.
Yeah. All right, take a break. Come back. We're talking to Joe Volk. More ahead on the Art Lewis Show.
My name is Angie Gouja. I've been an
All right, we're back with you. Joe Volk in studio with me. His show, Generating Gratitude, can be heard on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday here on WSGW. And do you go around and speak to people, speak to organizations? You talk about sobriety and...
Not really.
That's too bad.
I will.
That's too bad.
But
you're good at it.
I will, but I believe in life that only 10 to 15% of the folks in the world have a desire, the abilities, and the courage to be successful. And the rest spend more time either being indifferent or tearing
Somebody
the
else
successful
down. Yeah.
people down because they're too lazy to do the work. And everybody wants the money.
Jealousy, envy. Yeah.
Well, everybody wants the money.
Nobody wants to work hard to get it.
Nobody wants to. Nobody wants to. Oh, you have to work a holiday.
Oh, you have to, well, let's start with today's generation.
Yeah.
Oh, you have to work.
Yes.
I mean,
Well, and that's our fault.
they get to their employer, they want to tell the employer how many hours they're going to do, what days they're going to work, what they're going to, and not do.
Right. And that's just bad parenting. Because when, in
That's
my
interesting.
view, again, Joe's view anyway, you have to, with kids or with like employees or anything like, you have to let them fail.
Yeah.
You can't
that's
always
interesting.
be there. Okay, the kid gets cut from the basketball team and the parent is in the coach's office. No, when my kid got cut from the basketball team, he probably should have made the team, but he didn't. And, well, what are you going to do about it?
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do about it?
Improve so the coach sees me different.
Well, improve or study real hard and become a doctor.
Yeah, well, that worked out all right.
and take care of your old man. That's a good option too.
Yeah, that is.
But we don't let kids fail. We don't let them figure things out for themselves.
Yeah. My dad, great man, brilliant man. I tell this story many times, but he taught me a lot of things in life. Work ethic. I graduated high school young. I was 16 in New York City. I get home after graduation, and on the dining room table are New York City work papers filled out by my father And next to that is the address of the job he had already arranged for me, which started that Monday.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, you're not screwing off this summer.
Right.
Going to college, you're going to need pocket money. Go earn it. And that's where I learned work ethic.
Yeah, it's we have to. Failure is the best teacher.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because you can tell people the stove is hot, the stove is hot, the stove is hot, but nobody believes you till they touch the stove, and then they the stove is hot.
The other thing I learned at a young age, you'll appreciate this, I hope, is why I don't drink. As a Jewish kid growing up in the Bronx, Passover time, which is right now, by the way, but Passover, the first 2 nights you have the Seder. And at the Seder, particularly the youngsters, are all expected to do something. And when I turned 13, my dad said, "Son, it's time for you to do the prayer for wine." It's the only Hebrew I still remember. I can recite it in my sleep, right? But part of that is you got to take the glass of wine after you do the prayer and take a slug. Mogan David is the worst stuff in the world.
Yeah, that's antifreeze.
I took a slug of that and said, "Why do people drink?" And never drank again. Because that was my memory, is what that tasted like. I could not get that out of my head. So, never have. Now, people have told me, we can give you a drink. You won't know alcohol's there. You won't get it past my nose.
Yeah.
It's one of those things.
Yeah, I had a slightly different experience at 14 when I started to drink, and it made me a great dancer, and I could talk to girls.
So you looked at it as a positive. Well, but that it's an example of how life, things that happen when you're young,
yes,
affect your life throughout your life.
Everything I learned in business, I learned by failing.
Yep.
By just, getting my doors blown off. And we need to let people, kids especially, fail more. We need to not go. Obviously, you're not gonna do the hard get out of the house.
Yeah, no.
But you'll be there to catch them. But it's
failure's a learning experience.
But you have to let people fail. You have to let people lose. You have to learn how to lose. You have to. Okay, how am I going to use that? How am I going to change?
Yeah.
It's like that. It's like that with recovery too. You have to let people mess up.
Mm-hmm. And eventually they catch on.
Because if I can tell you everything, but you're not going to learn anything.
Well, as you well know, my friend, being in radio all the years you were and are,
it's
the
time
clock says goodbye.
Oh.
We'll have to do it again. When is your show on?
I am on, Saturday, 7 a.m., Sunday, 5 p.m.
5 p.m., yeah.
Also, the best way to listen to it is WSGW.com. If you go to shows and you click on Saturday and Sunday.
Generating Gratitude.
Generating Gratitude. Click on my ugly mug. We're on Spotify. And
all right.
I believe we're the best. We're the highest rated downloaded show.
Yeah,
so I don't know what
deal.
that means.
All right. Joe, thanks for being with us. News coming along next.
Hi, I'm Jen.
And I'm Kevin.
We're here on WSGW to tell you about ProLine Coatings in Bay City. I think ProLine Coatings in Bay City is where you should go to get your rust-proof and undercoat for your vehicle. That's because ProLine Coatings uses an exclusive coating process, a process available for